All right, lesson nine, supporting print devices. So overall, we went over how computers talk to each other, how they actually operate with the um, motherboards and circuitry that can go to other outputs, such as a monitor or TV, or we could plug other devices into it. Another output device that we can put onto our network is printers. And printers, um, even though it's a kind of a dying technology with all the cloud technology, and people are just not printing things out anymore but just keeping it digital on their computers. We still run into places where we need to have physical copies given to us. So let's take a look at printers and jump right into it. So to deploy printers and the malfunctions device sorry, deploy the printers and multifunction devices. All right. Now, when we're talking about setting up a printer, we're really kind of thinking about where we're going to put it out on the network. We want to make sure that we have a good connection to it. And if multiple people need to get to it, we want to make sure that we put it in a spot to where we don't have to have others going into a particular office to go and get it, unless, well, as long as no one is occupying that office, maybe it's fine. But either way, what I'm trying to say is that we need to put it into a spot where people can get to it easily, and that it has some kind of good solid connection. So if you have a small office that's going to just have a wireless printer, make sure that it has a good solid wireless connection, because sometimes when printers are not used as often, they go into this deep sleep, and it's hard for the Wi-Fi signal to knock them back on and get them online to get a print job. Whereas the Ethernet connection is always nice and strong, and it's typically going to be easier to wake it up with that type of connection. So making sure that you have the proper network connection is one thing. Having the proper power connection is going to be another. The laser printers are going to be a lot more robust than your typical inkjet printers, your desktop printers. These are going to be kind of like your standalone in the middle of the aisle type of printers. So if you think about a laser jet is probably something that you've seen into a hospital. You know what I'm saying? So just kind of like a very tall printer that's mixed with a scanner, fax machine. Everything that's you can do on a printer is probably going to be on those type of printers. All right, so mind you, another thing that's also a consideration is that maintenance. When you're doing maintenance on those type of big printers, making sure that it's in a spot where you can actually put your tools down and open those trays up, because they're gonna not just take up the space that it's already has when it's compacted, but it's gonna fold out, and those doors need to have room too. Do you need to pull that out? All those things need to be taken in consideration when setting them up in the first place. All right. Now, unboxing. So when we're talking about unboxing these things, remember I was just giving the examples of laser printers, which are you know let's take a look at a laser printer real quick. They can come as large as these, that has rollers on them. So when they come in those boxes, you typically want to have one or two people help you with that, um, just to kind of get it in the spot. Even these are fairly heavy to put on a desktop by itself. Typically these are in a print room, and you can, have their own space for them, so they can, have those doors and trays that come out, because all this stuff needs to, fold out so we can get in there, replace rollers and everything like that. And we'll go over that in just a second. So these laser printers can come a lot to take up a lot of space. You see how that folds out. I'm trying to see where one is like a floor model like that. You see that takes up half of the hallway there. So these are not small machines by no means. And they tend to come with packing strips, and the packing strips are on the smaller ones as well. And so you take those packing strips and you look at your instructions to see where all the packing strips are, because they will take these doors and these trays down. So let's go back up here to get an example of that, where these trays will have different packing strips on them. And what I mean by packing strips is kind of tape, just a little packing tape that makes sure that it's not flying around or get damaged in the delivery. So you want to make sure that you understand where all of those are at. So when you fire it up for the first time, you're able to print out a test page fairly easy. All right. So I already talked about Ethernet, Ethernet being a great connection for that device. Let's talk about USB for smaller inkjet type of printers. We're probably going to have it to be a USB. We can have it to be a network device, so a Wi-Fi or a Ethernet can go on these devices. It'll go down here, right? But it'll also have a Wi-Fi connect. I mean, a USB connection, as you see off to the right a little bit. Um, but you can typically put these on the network too. Um, the thing about these is that they're not as robust as the laser printer, right? So it's not going to be able to print as many jobs as the laser printer will be designed to do. But nevertheless, for those small offices, maybe it's a lawyer office that needs to print out 15 to 20 pages, maybe 60 pages at the max. An inkjet will work just fine. It's just, even when you're doing 50 pages or more, you're putting a little bit of a strain on that printer to print out fast, efficiently, and you're probably going to be running through a lot more cartridges doing those type of jobs. You would rather have a laser printer to do those type of things. Now, like I said, you can have it on Wi-Fi, but again, waking it up is my personal opinion about that. Is it can be um a pain. And so even though the connection on it could be nice and easy, so when you hook these printers up to to the network, we want to make sure that it's a static IP address, right? So we want to make sure we give the same IP address all the time to our same printer. We don't want this to change, so we want to give it a 1.247 address. And anybody that's on this 192.168.1 network is able to see 247 and connect to it. But if we give it a dynamic IP address and it changes to 247 to 248 or 249, then we have to remap everybody who once saw that printer, but now they can't see that anymore. Okay. So we want to make sure that if we can, go ahead and give it a static IP address. And if all possible, let's put it on Ethernet versus wireless. But wireless is easy to join. Sometimes you can have a feature called WPS, and that WPS is going to allow you to connect your Wi-Fi and your wireless printer without really doing too much configurations on your own. So you don't have to really worry about that. Okay. All right, moving on, we got the print driver. So, in order to have your printer actually talk to your computer, you need to have the drivers installed. And the drivers is going to allow your computer to speak your printer's language. Now, just adding a device, you may get like a baseline of drivers, and it may be able to print that way. It may just print a job that way, but in order to fulfill the full potential of your printer, take advantage of all the features that it has, you need to have the drivers installed on that um, whatever that uh, computer is. It may come with a CD-ROM. In order to load those drivers, it may come with you have to go out to the manufacturer's website nowadays and pull down the drivers. But in order to do so, um, you typically are going to go to the properties and then see if you can get out, see if the drivers are downloaded that way, or how would we do it? We could do We could do computer management, and we can go to device manager and then see um, our printers here. And with our printers, we can go ahead and right click on them and then update the drivers automatically if they're available. But this way is typically not as it's not typically used as often now. Now you typically are going to download an app, and that app from the app store is going to be able to talk to your printer. Okay.